Hey there, welcome back to Kathy Meadows here on the homestead. It's been a few days since I made a video. I've been having a hard time deciding what the next video needed to be about. Really been under everyday chores, and it dawned today that we're getting ready to go on vacation. Regularly see on home forums and hobby farm forums, people wanting to know what to do when they're on vacation. How can they go on vacation and still have their animals cared for, their homestead cared for? About the things to prepare for our vacation. So first thing that's primarily important is finding a trustworthy person to farm people that do this professionally. We had friends house sit for us, paid them a small amount of money. That's worked out well for us. We last year used I guess you would call a professional house sitter that was comfortable with animals to come over here, and she took care of our chickens, took care of the horse and the sheep. We didn't have cows yet, but she helped us out, and that actually went really well. This year she was not available when we asked her, so we have a family member that's going to stay here. I know that that's not always an option for everybody, but that's worked best for us. But some of the things that I'm going to do around the farm to get everything ready for our family to stay here, to make it as easy as possible for them to get everything done so that ours are safe and well cared for, so that they're not overwhelmed about what needs to be done. And so that everybody can just have a good vacation while we're gone without having to stress out about what's going on here, is taking up my fence. So normally we have our electric fence up, which we move every couple of days for rotational grazing. We've explained how that's better for the pasture, primarily to encourage grass growth and to not prohibit, but to discourage the weeds from flourishing. We've talked about how it's good for the welfare of the animals, limiting their worm load from inoculating themselves with worms every time they eat the same spot of grass. Cupcake's here with me. I've got her on a chain right now because we have the fence up, and she will go eat our chickens if given the opportunity. So what I'm doing now is picking up the poles, the electric fence poles from the electric fence, so that I can get it cleaned up back here some, so we can move the animals up front. The reason I'm going to move them up front is because that is the easiest spot on this property for the animals to be cared for without my family that's going to be staying here having to interact closely with the animals. They're not as comfortable with the animals, they're not as familiar with the animals, and I don't want any accidents to happen. You know, it's one thing if I put myself in a position and get kicked by a cow or a horse, or head-butted by my ram, or whatever. That's my own decision to make. I don't want a family member that's helping us out to get hurt by one of our animals, nor do I want the family that's staying here to accidentally hurt one of our animals by making some mistake they didn't know about. So that's easiest done for me when they're up front, and I'll explain why when we get up there. So I am not going to expect anybody that's sitting my farm, tending my farm while we're gone, to rotationally graze our animals. So that is one sacrifice I'm going to have to make in my system while we're gone. That's going to probably do some amount of harm to the pasture. It's not going to be irreparable. It's not going to be so great that the that my front 3 acres will be ruined. I have a man delivering some hay Friday, so there should be plenty of hay, should be plenty to eat while we're gone. We'll make sure they have a fresh hay bale out, and we'll make sure they have plenty of pasture. If they run out of palatable grass, though, there should be plenty of hay for them to eat while we're gone. Even though we won't be rotationally grazing that front pasture, I'm going to let them be up there only for the week we're gone. When we get back, we will examine the grass in the front and see if there's enough there that we can go about rotationally grazing that front pasture still, or if the damage needs to be mitigated by taking them off and letting the grass grow after a week of them being on the same pasture. I won't know the answer to that until I get back and see what's been done. So for now, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to keep picking up these fence posts, and then I'll be back with you in just a minute. All right, so the next thing we've done here, you can see, I've loaded my brush cutter. I think Bush Hog is a name brand on my tractor. I've done that for additional weight in the rear for whenever I'm going to pick anything up heavy in the front. I've moved my water trough up here to the front, and you can see that I have my water trough sitting on a pallet, so that when it comes time to move, I've got the bucket here for the horse. You notice that it's hanging on the opposite side of the fence here. That is there. It's held in place just simply by nail. That is there so that the horse can get to it, but the sheep can't, because Lollipop and Coco will absolutely try. What I'm going to do Friday, so that I can show you, is I'm going to bring my feed troughs up here. I'm going to run them down this fence line. Okay, 2 of them. I've got 2 of them. That's enough for all our animals. That way, when our house sitter is here, she can come on the outside of the fence and reach over and pour the feed into the feed troughs and not ever have to deal with the animals. And I've got a water spigot up there with a long enough hose that I can drag it out here and we can fill up the water trough. I've got my hay ring. The hay ring tries to help eliminate hay waste, and we will put a bale of hay out fresh for them, probably right here at this dead spot so we don't kill any more grass. And then you can kind of see our front. This is the front pasture. I'll show you one of the interesting things I've done over here that was a little bit questionable, and I wasn't sure it was going to work. I'm sure that if any of this ever gets popular, I'll get a lot of hate for this, because it's probably not really allowed or really best practice. But it's worked for me. I'm not saying anybody else should try it, but it has worked. We have a treatment plant for our sewage as opposed to a regular septic tank. So you can see coming out of the ground up there the pipes where the treatment plant is, and over here is the outlet for the treatment plant. So all the water we use goes through the water treatment plant and then just comes out of that pipe right there and will just trickle on down the land, okay? So what I did when we first got here was dig a rather deep hole, get a pond liner, and put a pond liner in right there to catch some of the water in case any of the dogs or sheep or at the time we didn't have cattle, but now cattle want to have anything to drink. That was before we had a tractor and before we had that large water trough to move around is needed. Joel Salatin has done a neat thing with his water troughs that I would like to do in the future. Haven't been able to yet, but if I ever do it, I'll make a video about it. But he uses the inlet on the water trough. You see, I'm going to come get a video of it. That most of these troughs have a place right here where you can screw water to, and then have a float valve in there, much like a toilet, that will fill up the water trough whenever the level drops, automatically fill it up. And what he does is he has his 2x6 attached to the outside so that two of his employees or family or whatever can just dump the water trough and they can move it to the new area. That's something that I'd like to do in the future. So for now, those are the things that I'm going to try to do for the big animals so that we can go on vacation and that our family member that's staying here with us can help us house sit with as little stress as possible. We're going to move the feed right up here to the fence line for them so they can just come over here, dump a bucket of food, scoop of food in here for the horse, and a bucket of food over here along the fence line for my animals. Normally, I do rotationally graze this front pasture where I will do it in strips. Do a strip here, strip here, strip here, just a day or two at a time. We'll come back after the trip. We'll evaluate this front pasture and we'll see if there's any good grass left for them to rotationally graze or if they need to be moved. If they need to be moved, we'll be going back to Mr. Carl's pasture. So until then, I'll see y'all. Hope that you have a wonderful time. We're going to take a little break probably for about a week while we're out of town. Wish us luck, wish our housekeeper luck, and probably going to make one more video of me unloading this hay because it's a little sketchy with that little tractor, but it should be fun to watch. See y'all soon.